Hey, what's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're taking a look at the Data Crew What a Junior pouch. And this is in the high camo pattern, but available in some other patterns, and I'd imagine other materials as well. Now, if this looks somewhat familiar, that's because I did a video on its predecessor a while back, the Data Crew What a Slider. And so these are remarkably similar. In fact, if you have the What a Slider or even watch that video, the internal organization is going to be identical. There are a couple minor differences and really only one major difference, and that is the dimensions. So when we're talking about dimensions, both of these are 3.5 inches tall by 4.5 inches wide. But when we flip to that side profile, you can see the What a Junior is significantly thinner. And so unloaded, that's about an inch thinner at an inch and a half thick. And so that doesn't seem like a huge difference, but it does make a pretty big difference in pocketability. The What a Junior is very pocketable. You can throw it in a back pocket, cargo pocket pretty easily, even a front pocket if you don't have a lot of gear in there. And the What a Slider, that's really not the case just because it's so thick. And so that one's better in a bag for the most part. You can carry it in hand. I've seen people put a carabiner on the back here and carry it on a belt loop. I've never done that, but definitely doable as well. But this one's more portable, more pocketable, and so I like that a lot about it. Now, I did like how thick the other one was because it kept the gear off of each other when it was being stored, so there was so much separation between that you can put thicker gear and it's not likely to rub up against each other. And so that is a point in the What a Slider favor, but I think the portability wins out with this What a Junior, makes it a little bit better. Now, another similar thing is going to be that price point. These are $60, so definitely not cheap, but they are USA made with premium materials that are also sourced in the USA and kind of in line with, I think, what we see from those other popular pouches right now, like the Garage Built Gear, the All Good pouch, or the Grim EDC, or even the Money Talks EDC stuff that I've been doing lately. And so you do pay a little bit of a premium for USA made. If that's out of your budget for a pouch, definitely check out my playlists on pouches. I think I've done probably close to 60 of them on the channel at this point. Look at maybe Alpaca. They're usually around half the price of these, or even Viperade if you want to go a little bit cheaper. I think I've gone all the way down to $3 in terms of pouches, and so have a pretty wide variety. There's also stuff out there above this price point, and so this is kind of middle of the road, I'd say, especially for USA made. Not extremely expensive, but also not super budget. And now, looking at the other kind of minor differences, they're all really on the external portion of this pouch. So quickly, we'll look at the zipper here, which is YKK zipper. And well, actually, going back to the price, most of them are $60, and that's $60 for the What a Slider as well. But some other materials, like this one here, I think was $65. I don't remember what they call this material, but there might be a difference in terms of the material you select, but the size doesn't make the difference. Now, that YKK zipper is number 5 and waterproof, and so this pouch itself isn't waterproof. If you were to submerge it, water will get in right about here. There, you'll see when we get it open, there's an opening, but it should be basically weather resistant. If you're just walking through a storm, your gear should stay dry. But with those zippers, you'll see on the What a Slider is they remove the YKK zipper pull and put their own little cord with a vacuum wrap, and so these are basically silent. Whereas with the YKK zipper pulls, you do get a little bit of noise. And so if that's something that bothers you, definitely something to keep in mind. Now, in pocket, these are going to be kind of pressed up against material, not really going to be rattling around, but if you're carrying in a bag or something, you might get a little bit of rattle. Now, the other kind of minor difference, and I don't know if this is even going to be the case with all of these What a Juniors, is the tag on this one is a nice PVC tag, similar to what you'd see on like a Ranger Eye patch, whereas these ones have cloth tags. I even have other What a Sliders that have different cloth tags, but this is the first one I've seen that's the PVC. And so that's kind of a nice touch. It definitely feels a little bit more premium. It looks really cool. You see it has the data and their little Reaper logo, as well as the Made in Downtown LA and support your local villain, supply number 002. So I guess this is probably the second run of this exact material. And so let's take a look at the external portions of this. So we already mentioned the zippers here. We also have a 3.5 by 4.5 inch hook and loop panel. I'm not going to go over all of the individual patches, although I'll try and link to them in the description. A lot of these are kind of limited. One of these is actually out of business. And so I'll link to those, but not going to spend a lot of time talking about them. And then on the other side, on the front side, we have a zipper pocket that is also that same 3.5 inches by 4.5 inch dimensions, and it's pretty flat. And so depending on how tightly you have this packed is really going to determine the real estate you have in there for storage. I don't usually use this external pocket that much on any of my pouches because it makes stuff pretty inaccessible, but I do have some cash in there. You can see even when I was pulling that out, it all got separated, but I do have some cash in there, and so you can fit small flat items. Like I said, I don't usually put that many items in the external pocket, but that is available, and it's actually pretty loose right now, so I could put some like credit cards and stuff like that in there as well. I didn't. But let's get into the main pocket. This one does not have dual zippers. It is a single zipper, which is the same as the What slider, but nice full clamshell opening. And so we can get that open. You can see similar to the pouches on the outside, we have a nice blue kind of color scheme for today's loadout, and fits a decent bit of gear. Really nice organization on here. There's a lot of different materials going on. So on the outside, we had that 1000D Cordura. On the inside, we have this nylon mesh, as well as this kind of ripstop nylon, and then we have a smaller hook and loop panel here as well. I didn't choose to utilize it in this loadout, but definitely can put some small organizers or Ranger eyes there. And so that's kind of a nice little panel there. But let's start on the left side. As always, I load these out for, I think it makes it a little more interesting, but also just kind of scale so you can see what types of items fit in different pockets, but I will measure all of these out at the end of the video. So on the left, we have the Victorinox Cadet. This one has the G10 scales. And on the right of this mesh pocket, we have a Phoenix E01, and this is another twist on AAA light. And so cool one from Phoenix. Behind that, we have kind of a full width back pocket, and this one is that ripstop nylon instead of the mesh. So the mesh does have a little bit of stretch to it. It's not extreme, but there is a little bit of stretch to it. You also see that Made in USA tag, but this one is that ripstop nylon, and so they are somewhat generous with the material, so it's not super stretchy, but there's a decent amount of room back there. We just have a micro notes and a pocket pen, and so this is a blue one obviously, but just a simple pocket pen back there. Nothing too crazy. There's also no separation, so that's another full width pocket. On the right side, we have the same thing. I didn't put anything in this front pocket because I tend to like to keep my pouches from being too overloaded, and I felt like once I put something in there, it was getting kind of thick, and so I elected to not put anything in here, but you can put another small item there. Depending on the thickness of the items behind it, you do have a decent amount of room in there. But for now, I have the original Banter, the Wee Banter, and so if you're familiar with that knife size, it fits in there no problem. I use a pocket clip, but you can just have it free floating in there as well, but that fit no problem whatsoever. And then a full-size Bic lighter, and so again, no issues there, just kind of free floating, no separation in those pockets. But you can see pretty simple but versatile little organization in here. They didn't force you to put smaller items by kind of sewing a lot of these off, which I do like, because sometimes you have a bunch of stuff where it's sewed off and you can't fit something like a Zippo or some wider items like these micro notes. Maybe you can only use one side instead of choosing between the two sides because one's sewn off. And so I kind of like that, and you can still put individual items in here side by side, especially if you're using a pocket clip, it works. But I really like the layout of the inside of these What Juniors as well as the What slider. But let's get to the measurements on these and then we'll get out of here. But I did mention this, so you can see this opening here where the zipper ends on each side, and so water will get through there if you were to submerge these. But again, with it all closed up, you're going to be able to walk through a rainstorm and things not get wet. But if we look at the front portion, these mesh pockets, they're about 1.5 inches wide each, and a depth of about 2 3/4 inches. The back pocket over here is about 3 inches even, and again, that's a full width, so about 3.5 inches, but closer to 3 inches when you account for the seams. You can kind of force stuff over to the sides, but effectively about 3 inches of width on that. And that's going to be the same thing for both of these pockets, effectively about 3 inches of width. But this front one is about 2 inches deep, so you can put a 2x3 patch here on this hook and loop panel. And then this back one is going to be 3 inches deep by 3 inches wide. And so pretty simple. Gonna keep this one kind of short and sweet, but let me know what you think of this pouch down in the comments below. Now, I'm not sure if there's any currently in stock, but they stock them pretty regularly, and they're not too hard of a drop to get. It's just that they sell out. And so if you do want them, sign up for their mailing list, and usually you'll get early access on the mailing list to any of their drops. And so before they post them on Instagram or anywhere else, you're going to get an email telling you that you can buy them a day or two early. And so definitely worthwhile if you're trying to get one of these, join their mailing list. I think you also might get a 10% off coupon with that. And so that's definitely a nice thing as well. But again, let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you enjoyed this video. Also check out the playlist on pouches if you're in the market for a pouch. I've covered quite a few at this point and have a ton more to cover. But thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.